Okay, so let's see exactly what we're doing. Oh, it's backward day. You know what that means? That means you actually want to complete the worksheet before you watch the video, because the video is going to have the answers. Well, actually, more than the answers, the video is going to have step-by-step solutions. So I encourage you to try to complete the worksheet first, then check your answers on the video. Or, well, maybe you'll just want to do like question number 1 and then check your answer to number 1 on the video, and then you might want to do question number 2 and then check question number 2 on the video, and then you could do question number 3 and check your answer to number 3 on the video, and then you can move on to question number 4 and check your answer to question 4 on the video, and move on to question number 5 and check your answer to question 5 on the video, and then move on to question. Anyway, you can, of course, stop the video as many times as you need, or pause the video as many times as you need. But the step-by-step work will be available on the video. So before we get much further, you'll need to stop or pause the video, start working on that worksheet, but refer back to the video whenever you have questions or when you want to check an answer. Okay, question 1, it looks like the first step would be cross multiply. After I cross multiply, I'll use the distributive property. We need to isolate the variable. I will subtract 15x from each side. Then I'll subtract 20 from each side. Finally, I'll divide each side by 5, and I have a solution. Question 2, looks like we need to cross multiply. Then we will use the distributive property. Then I can subtract 14x from each side, subtract 4 from each side, divide by 2. If I'm going way too fast, remember, you may pause the video. Question 3. First, I need to set up a proportion. Since I'm trying to find side DO, the proportion needs to include side DO. Since I don't know side AT, the proportion better not include side AT, right? Because this way I can substitute 3 values that I know, cross multiply, solve, and I now have my missing side DO. Now, to find side AT, this proportion, of course, will include AT. Solve after substituting, and I've got a value for AT. Question 4, again, set up the proportion first. Substitute the values that I know. Cross multiply. Use the distributive property. Isolate the variable. And I have an answer of 11. Oh, that was just for x. We actually want to know the distance, OG. So I need to substitute 11 for x and come up with the solution. Stay on your toes, read the directions. Perimeter of the rectangle, that's easy. The rectangle has 4 sides. I add the 4 sides up. Come up with 16 centimeters. Area, rectangles are easy, length times width. And so I come up with 15 square centimeters. Oh, a similar rectangle with a scale factor of 2. K equals 2. Well, we take the perimeter of the original rectangle, multiply it by 2, and now we have the perimeter of the similar rectangle. Now for area, however, instead of multiplying by 2, we have to multiply by 2 squared. And we end up with an area of 60 square centimeters. Okay, find the perimeter and area of the right triangle. Since we're told it's the right triangle, we'll just assume that the corner that looks like it's 90 degrees is 90 degrees, which means we are missing the hypotenuse. So I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. 169, boy, that seems way too large. Oh, wait, I got one more step. Got to remember to take that square root. So the missing side is 13 yards. For the perimeter, I'll add up the three sides. I get 30 yards. For the area, 1/2 times the base times the height. Although the way I've got it written there, it looks like 1/2 times the height times the base. Get the same result. Okay, perimeter of a similar right triangle with the scale factor 1/2. Take the perimeter we had from the original triangle, multiply it by 1/2. There's our answer. Take the area from the original triangle, multiply it by 1/2 squared, which means I have to do 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/4. And now 30 divided by 4 does not come out to be an even number. It comes out to be 7.5. So I get 7.5 square yards. Okay. Are they similar? Well, for number 9, remember, if we have two angles that are congruent, we actually have all three angles that are congruent. So let's find that missing angle in triangle ABC. Aha, the measure of angle A is 27 degrees. Well, angle C has to be congruent to angle F because they're both right angles. Angle A is congruent to angle D because they're both 27 degrees in measurement. So yes, those triangles are similar. Right? If you know two of the angles, you actually know all three. Okay, now for question 10, I can tell that angle C is congruent to angle F. I just got to find another matching pair. So let's find the measurement of angle A. Angle A measures 40 degrees. And so if I'm looking at that 42 degrees, and I'm saying, hey, that doesn't match, right? Because I knew the 57 degrees didn't match that 42 degrees. And our 40 degrees also does not match 42 degrees. So no, those triangles are not similar. Which of the three? Well, let's compare the first two. Here's a proportion that I can use to find a scale factor. Let's see what's going to happen here. All right. So 6 over 10 reduces to 3/5. 9 over 12 reduces to 3/4. Whoa, those are not equal to each other. So triangle ABC and triangle DEF are not similar. Let's try the second and third triangle. Okay, so if I compare 10 to 15, that reduces to 2/3. If I compare 12 to 18, hey, that also reduces to 2/3. But wait, there's a third side. 14 compares to 21, that's 2/3. Okay, so the second and third triangles are similar to each other. I don't need to check the first triangle with the third triangle, because if the first triangle was not similar to the second triangle, it's also not going to match the third triangle. The directions, write a similarity statement. So I need to write a similarity statement. Right? Triangle DEF is similar to triangle GHI. I can put the letters in any order I want. However, if I put D first on that triangle, I must put G first on the corresponding triangle. If I put E second for the first triangle, I must put H second for the other triangle, and so forth, right? Have to have corresponding parts. Number 12. Well, if those triangles are similar, we have to be able to set up a proportion. I can then substitute the values in for the proportion. Cross multiply. Oh, hot diggity dog, we get to do some FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. Right? First, x times x is x squared. Outer, x times 5 is 5x. Inner, 4 times x is 4x. Last, 4 times 5 is 20. Of course, 20 times 30 is 600. Combine like terms, 4x plus 5x is 9x. Now, some of you can jump straight there, because if you look at the numbers we were given inside the parentheses, 4 and 5, 4 times 5 made that 20. 4 plus 5 made that 9. I just got to remember, though, that it's actually 9x and not just 9. Instead of isolating the variable, that's not going to work because we cannot combine like terms, right? The x squared and the 9x are not like terms. So instead, we need to set this equal to 0. Those of you that like to use the quadratic formula, you may do that. Those of you that like to solve by completing the square, you may do that. Personally, I like to factor. That is the method I will take. I know that 29 times negative 20 is negative 580. I also know that positive 29 subtract 20 will make that positive 9. If x plus 29 equals 0, x will be negative 29. Negative 29, now look at the diagram. X plus 4, substituting a negative 29 in there, no, that's not going to work, right? The sides of the triangles must be positive by definition. If x minus 20 is 0, x has to be 20. Yes, that makes sense, right? If I plug in 20, those missing sides are going to be 24 and 25. Certainly sound reasonable enough. So yes, that's the answer that I have to go with. All right. I had to hurriedly go back and edit this question because I realized I had not put the symbols in the diagram for parallel, and I had not included that in the directions. So I had to go back there and I added that parallel statement. Otherwise, you really couldn't do the question. I know that x compares to 4 the same way that 8 compares to 5. Cross multiply. And 32 divided by 5. You could leave it as the fraction 32 fifths. I actually did the division and put 6.4. Okay, so if those were going to be parallel, what would x have to be? Well, x plus 1 will compare to 3, the same way that x plus 3 will compare to 4. Cross multiply, distributive property, isolate the variable. It looks like x will have to be 5. The last question. Uh-oh. What is the length from D to C? Right? AB is 7, AC is 14, BD is X. What on earth is CD going to be? Okay, well, I know that segment BD plus segment DC has to equal segment BC. Plug in the values I know. I know BD is X. I know BC is 15. Let's solve. Aha! DC is 15 minus x. So, set up my proportion. 7 will compare to x the same way that 14 will compare to 15 minus x. Cross multiply. Use the distributive property. Isolate the variable. Simplify, and x is 5. That's the value. Oh my, for you dog people, that's just not looking too good, is it?